Hey everybody, it is Jeff, the owner of hayfrosells. I am hayfro, or fro, or Jeff Fro, I've been called. I wasn't planning on making a video today, but I'm kind of fired up and kind of inspired. There's a lot of things that I want to talk about. I'm going to start with a number of little videos. I'm going to break them up throughout the day, and I'll probably publish this later tonight. So it is now almost 3 p.m. I've got a couple sales. I'm just going to quickly show a few things that I've sold on eBay. So a watch and a pouch and a shirt that I got from my daughter when she was donating a bunch of stuff. This sold for 10. I can't believe this even sold. I don't know how they found it. And a couple DVDs, Blu-ray, I think. So all of this was 90 bucks. Nothing great, but 90 bucks. Now, do you find that it is getting more difficult with the amount of work that we have to put in to eBay to make sales? Like before, we could just list items and forget about it, and then sell similar, delete, sell similar, refresh the listing. I didn't even do that until 6 months ago. 12 years selling on eBay, I've never done that until 12 months ago. And I'm finding, I've got some information that I'm going to share later, that might be archaic and a thing of the past and actually not even worth it anymore. But when you think about all the work between having to create promotions, having to create coupons to send to people, I don't actually ever do that. Sending offers, just all the extra hoops that we have to jump through with eBay. It shouldn't be that hard. And a lot of the times we do a lot of those things because we're currently not getting sales, because the search, which is the real culprit now, I'm learning, and I'll get to that later. But I wanted to start off by just reading a couple comments from the article over that e-commerce Bites did. There's just two, and one of them is just a funny comic relief one on the video that I did on my channel that she posted on e-commerce Bites website. And it was could removing low value items from eBay help your sales? I linked that in yesterday's video. And somebody goes, yes. No, somebody goes, no, but removing low value eBay employees certainly would. I thought that was definitely worth a chuckle. We could always use a little bit of comic relief in these days. And then the only other comment that I thought was kind of worth sharing was by Max Optical. And he goes, yes, I believe eBay assigns a monthly average sales rate. I sell primarily $30 to $50 items. If I get a sale of one of my $2,000 items, my sales will tank for several weeks. This is years of observation, 23 years as a seller. Also, I have two main suppliers with approximately 2,000 SKUs each. Several times a year, I remove all the listings from each supplier, rework them, and then relaunch the listings. For a period of a week, when I only have 2,000 of my normal 4,000 eBay listings, my sales and impressions remain at the same level. It is more than evident that eBay manipulates a seller's sales rate, essentially capping them. Doubling your items listed will not double your sales and your impressions. And this is actually what got me thinking about how much work that we have to do, how many times we have to essentially handle these items. Every time you click and you make an adjustment, or you delete and you sell similar, and you tinker with the pictures or the item specifics, it is just tedious, and it should not be that hard. There's no reason for it. And can you imagine removing all your listings from each supplier, rework them, and then relaunch the listing? It's too much. It's way too much. Okay, so the comment that Jet Fixer left a few days ago on one post or video that is called "Understanding the New Rules Will Determine How to Proceed in the New eBay Capped Sales Are Facts." So he said, "Got some info today. I was told to look at my active listings as being in the platform's draft banks and will be used as needed." And then he says he had to hang up with his informant because he was just in shock, and he'll hopefully be updating some more information to add to this information that we have. So after watching Josh's channel today, this actually makes a lot of sense from eBay's perspective, not from my perspective. I think it's completely just horrible. It's absolutely horrible for those of us who sell long tail items, anything vintage, anything collectible, and I'll get into that. And it really raises the question of what is the point of even listing on eBay if our items are just not going to be seen, if they're going to be immediately ranked very low, and we'll get into this. So the topic of, and also in that comment, I might come back to this, I might not, but I want to address it right now. Look at your active listings as being in the platform's draft bank and will be used as needed. So just focus on the 5 words, will be used as needed. Now, when I read that, I think I immediately interpreted it as those listings in the draft bank would be used when they need to get my sales, whatever they deemed, however they would tier my store and determine this is how much I should make, the whole cap theory. I thought that it was when they were needed to do that. But that might not be the case. It might be that they pull those drafts out when eBay needs to make a certain amount of money for their earnings. Like I've talked about it in the past, how, they probably know exactly how much they need to make each week, each month to stay on track to, appease the shareholders. So it's possible that our active listings aren't active, and you'll understand where I'm getting this information at. They're not active until eBay needs them to be active. So that's an important concept to kind of chew on and think about. All right, so I took a bunch of notes. So Josh, hold on one sec. Okay, sorry, I had to get my thoughts together. So over the weekend, Josh spoke to somebody on LinkedIn who previously had worked on the Cassini Algorithm. I'll just gonna refer it to as Cassini because that's the name. And he is an SEO engineer, and this is essentially an educated speculation because it still is hearsay, but this makes a lot of sense as to why we feel that our items are not being seen, that something has changed, whereas before we were getting X amount of sales, we would list. This would be what our, we know what's normal based on historical precedent. So the way Cassini search works, and this is all from Josh's video today, which I'm gonna cover a little bit of it, but it is a must watch, because if this is true, and this is the direction that eBay is heading, it's not going to be the place to sell vintage, antique, collectible, unique, hard to find, rare items. So you group all you basically anything that, yeah, you'll see what I mean by that. So Cassini search has a front end and a back end. The front end is what the customer sees. The back end is where the items are housed on the server, which is essentially what JetFixer was saying. It's like a draft bank is where your listings goes. That's actually where your listing goes as soon as you click publish. Once it's published, Cassini ranks it. There's 11 categories that it ranks, and it gives you a score, say like maybe, I don't know, out of 100 is kind of what Josh was saying. Out of 100, and there's a time scale. I'll get to that. So the different categories, so okay, as you're listening to these, think about your listings and whether or not your listings are going to get bumped up because of these rankings or bumped down. Sell-through rate, number one. This is the one we've all been talking about. It makes sense that it's and I don't think these are in any particular order. Listing quality. I mean, what does that mean, right? But relevant search term, and that is, Cassini compares it to other items being sold. So it compares both sellers' search terms. 4, item specifics. 5, business policies. 6, selling price versus what is being sold. So it takes into, okay, so selling price versus what it's being sold for. So when you list something, eBay gives a suggested price. Now think about this for a minute. If you list it above that, that could be a demerit in this total overall score. But I have some thoughts on this. Essentially, they're fixing the markets. Essentially, eBay has determined what a particular item sells for, and if you list it higher, that could potentially keep your item in the draft bank. Now, what about collectibles? For example, this comic book. If this is a 9.8 in condition versus a VF Plus, which is an 8.5, does Cassini recognize the condition as a factor in why you're asking for a higher price? I don't think it does. So that's a problem, because in collectibles, condition is everything. Number 7, demand. It views and compares other similar items sold. 8, promotions. If you're doing promoted listings, that's probably a big one. Seller metrics, free shipping and handling, which that should not be a metric. Free shipping and handling, I don't know. I don't know how they can expect you to do free shipping and handling in this day and age when shipping just keeps going up. But my thinking is, with longer tail items, sometimes the shipping and handling goes up and up before it sells, but eBay wants you to sell things fast. So I guess in that particular case, they probably don't view that as an issue, but it is an issue. And then your seller ranking. So for me, I'm thinking, how am I going to manage to get any sales? So sometimes I think, how does something even sell? For example, like 10 minutes ago, this little plushie sold. I don't know how in the world somebody found this based on these metrics. And it's like, oh, okay, sorry. This note that I got, I haven't gotten to it yet. So all of those factors go to give you a score, and the best person who has the best score, then that means your item gets to go into the search results where the buyers see. So he said that Cassini ranks them. A 0 is good and 1 is bad. So when it goes into the draft bank, then Cassini determines if it's a 0, and if it's good enough, then it goes out into the active platform so that people who are searching for items can see it. So this is why people who have listed something and they've tried to search for their item and they can't find it, it's because it's still in the draft bank. Cassini keeps it in the back end. They have deemed it to be not relevant enough to put it out there. So it's like we're literally listing items. Hypothetically, if this is accurate information, we could be literally listing items that are there's no visibility. So today, I listed this hat locally because, I just thought it was super cool. Team Spam, Aloha Island Grill. Picked it up really cheap, and I thought, why list it? Well, I didn't list it on eBay for two reasons. Number one, because of a lot of this new information that I'm just like, there's just, what's the point? And then two, I don't know, like I'm super paranoid about listing certain things. I'm like, does the word spam, is that like one of those Vero terms that you're not allowed to use, like Velcro or onesie? So I listed it. Within 4 minutes of listing it, somebody liked it. I mean, I would have rather than bought it, but it's still nice to know that at least there's search visibility with Facebook and Craigslist. Because it's like that's why people go to eBay. And if this information, so part of me telling you guys and relaying, and I know there's probably a lot of viewers on here who have already watched Josh, but I'm sure that there's some that aren't. And this information has to get out, because what is the point of listing on eBay if our items are just being ranked and demoted and not even actually being seen? That's why people go to eBay, is because they have the audience, they have the customers, they have the buyers already built in. We expect our items to actually be able to be searched for. But if it sits in Cassini, okay, here's the other thing, is if you list it, let's say you get it ranked as a 0 and you get it listed out into the active, search world. If it sits for too long, that's the time factor, the time scale that comes into play, and then it will be demoted as well. And it'll be deemed a dead item, and it'll never get shown. Now, it must eventually get shown, or maybe somebody, like in this instance here, maybe he just searched and searched and searched until he was able to see it. Because I'm sure this is not a high sell-through plush. So I guess, how did that buyer find it? What did he do that was different? So that's a good question to ask. But and sellers used to game the system by deleting and sell similar. That was the workaround, right? Everyone knows this tactic now. And if you notice, it probably hasn't been as working, and that's because of AI. They've figured this out. And if you don't change any of the pictures, change any of the item specifics, change something else in the listing, and I don't know what combination of changes need to be made, but it's a bit much to be asking us, because this talks about the whole, how many times do we have to handle? How many times do we have to, touch these listings? It shouldn't be that difficult. If you list something and it's unique, and you're very specific about the key terms and the keywords that you use, if somebody else is typing in those keywords, they should be able to match it. That is the whole point of selling on eBay. And okay. Okay, so a couple questions that I had thought about as I was listening to Josh talk is, how do I manage to get any sales when most of my items are low sell-through rate? And what can take it out of the one status, the one being rank, and probably nothing, to be honest with you. And it seems like that eBay is totally trying to basically move away from unique, antique, collectible, obscure, like stuff that's hard to find, and that leaves an opportunity for a competitor to capitalize on this. Because, I mean, where else, this is like what I was talking about the other day, is where are you going to be able to sell, items like that on a consistent basis? Where are you going to be able to sell them and know and feel comfortable that people searching for these items are going to be able to find them? Because I guess I used to think that a couple things. I used to think if I listed things and I used the appropriate keywords, people would be able to find them. And also, if I build my store up large enough, that I would be able to capitalize off of multi-buy orders, people and repeat business. All of these things kind of were factors into how I wanted to build my own eBay business. Diversity is a good thing. No matter whether, in everything, in life, in business, in relationships, diversity is so important. And you might not agree with the way I run my business, and I might not agree with how you run your business, but that doesn't mean that either of us are right or wrong. It seems like eBay wants a bunch of cookie cutter stores all selling the same thing. Things that the commonality being high sell-through rates. I don't know what that eBay looks like, if that's the case. And I don't think that eBay has a place for me. And I think each of us need to decide if that's the case, and if eBay is phasing out those particular kinds of stores, it's gonna force us to pivot in some direction. And I keep going back to another thought that I keep having is, why does eBay feel that they need to burn it all down and then start over? Alienate the sellers that got eBay to where it is. Well, you know what? They have eBay Auto. Why don't they have like eBay Vintage or eBay High End or eBay Shoes, eBay Hats? I don't know. I don't know, but I do know that a lot of this information makes a lot of sense, and it would have been nice if eBay would have told us that this was the direction they were going on, instead of being like, doing it behind the scenes and not telling us and like letting us just keep listing and listing and listing, because that's what we were told to do. That's what we were told. You list, we'll find you a buyer. And I kind of feel like they might be like laughing at us behind the scenes if this is true. All right, the last thing that I want to focus on is I'm going to read an email that I got from a viewer. This was sent to my personal email, and I think there's some really good information in here. And I think it's this guy's obviously extremely intelligent. He's a longtime eBay seller. He makes serious money. It says in here, he used to get 300 to 500 feedback per month. Now he gets maybe 40 or 50, and he has 2 stores. He's been doing this a long time, over a decade. And he first sent me a message, and he says, selling on eBay since 99, full-time for over 12 years. I think eBay's problem is that they are only focusing on car parts. Every eBay ad I see, every eBay ad I hear on radio is all about eBay Motors. I don't sell car parts, I sell pet supplies. However, I notice that many of my buyers are car part buyers that happen to pick up pet supplies. eBay's problem is their branding and advertising, and he says that he has a lot of concerns about eBay to hit me back. So I messaged him And the first thing that I was curious is I wanted to hear his logic about, what did I say? I said, hey, thanks for reaching out. How have you concluded that some of your recent customers that are buying pet supplies from you are also car part buyers? Because I wanted to hear that logic. Because in my mind, I was like, how would you know that? And his response, very well thought out, and it's long, and I apologize for that, and I'll try to get through it as fast as possible, but I think there's a lot of good points in here. And I think it's interesting. I always think it's interesting to learn how other people think about things. I think there's good things that can be deemed and learned through that. Because everybody does things for a reason, and we might not understand the logic behind it, but everybody has a motive, and just in the same way as everybody thinks about things a little different, I like to know their logic behind that. You can tell that buyers are car people several ways. I know this because I'm a bit of a car guy myself. Not me, that this guy's a car guy. But I usually don't buy car parts off eBay because I don't trust the legitimacy of the parts. Car people can be notoriously shady, and I know that the returns exchange procedures on eBay takes too long. Number one, look at the username. It will have the name of it will have a car or a model number of a car, some kind of car reference in the username. Speedy 1925, Mr. Fix-It 45, V8 Powered 48, Race Cartoon number 1, Fordman 22 VW. Like, that's brilliant. I never would have even thought of that. Number two, look at the buyer's feedback, especially the buyer's feedback left for others. You can see that they buy from car part sellers and tool sellers by the feedback comments they leave, and also by looking at the seller's username, i.e. Auto Parts Geek, Tires Auto, Motor Trade Online, etc. Then number three, now look at the monthly feedback of the auto part sellers, and you'll see that these people are moving some serious units. Kind of brisk business I used to enjoy, only better. One of my eBay store, I said that already. Every time you log into eBay, you see one or more splash banners promoting auto parts or tools or tires or something related to eBay Motors. Now, maybe some of this is because I am somewhat of a car guy, and maybe eBay cookies are building a profile based on my browsing history. I'll grant you that. However, it still doesn't account for the number of users that shop in my store that are also car people, and the sellers that buy from being car part sellers. I know for me, I've commented on the past how often I see ads for eBay Motors on YouTube, and I personally get a little frustrated over that because I don't know why I'm seeing these ads. They're not relevant to me at all, and I get kind of irritated because I know that my fees are paying for those ads. Back to the email. If I am right, which I think I am, and eBay is pushing car parts and related products over all other products, then any non-automotive business you pick up is just peripheral business, table scraps. eBay's actions and advertisings, as well as my sales numbers, seem to indicate that. Years ago, I noticed a summer slowdown that was far worse than any I had experienced before. I thought it was just the recoil after the slowdown of COVID. Cash, combined with annual summer slowdown and lockdown mandates being lifted, so people wanting to get out and do stuff. In a panic, I started doing the promoted listings to drive sales, which worked, but just kept my numbers sustainable. Motivated by a fear of losing sales, I continued doing promoted listings for almost 2 years, but I ended that as of April this year, and seeing my sales and traffic continue to decline. Combined with the rising cost of goods and material and shipping, there was no way for me to stay competitive on eBay with pricing and still hand over the additional 5 to 10% of my sales to eBay for promoted listings. I was losing money and not increasing traffic and sales. I don't like working for free. I have basically said all of these same things, that is it even worth it to be a reseller when we're basically almost paying double the amount of fees for eBay, and it feels like they're doing less and less to actually bring us sales, combined with inflation raising the prices of goods for us, combined with shipping and handling costs rising 2 times every year, combined with, can I think of any more? I don't know. I could probably think of another one, but that's enough. Those are enough reasons. The only people making money on eBay is eBay. And they're making their money from the promoted listing fees and selling fees. The store subscriptions are a baseline, but the real profit is in the promoted listing ad fees and selling fees. There is no other way to explain how GMV can be down but revenue up, as it was reported at their last earnings meeting to shareholders. I think I can say this because this really gives credibility to how much of a seller this person is. Just a quick background, probably should have stated this from the outset. Top rated plus, over 10 years selling 2 accounts, concierge selling on all accounts, used to gross over $30,000 per month. Now I'm lucky if I can crack 15 across all eBay stores. So it went from 30 per month on just one store, and now he has 2 and he's barely making half that. I think that the buyers just aren't there anymore unless you're selling car parts. Why do I say this? Well, in addition to the reasons listed above, I'll also present this. In order to keep my business alive, I had to go back to Amazon. That's not really relevant to this. Okay, it is relevant. He basically switched and started selling on Amazon, and he's having success over there. So his point is that pet supplies are not dead online. There are plenty of people buying pet supplies, just not on eBay. And I would take that one step further. There are plenty of people that are buying lots of other things on eBay, but because they can't find them or because eBay is not showing them, those are not getting sold. eBay is not promoting them. Because that's what eBay has positioned themselves as with consumer, a car parts store. And eBay is using our seller fees and our promoted listings to promote and advertise their car parts stores. I sell on other platforms as well, mainly Shopify, Walmart. My sales on those platforms have outpaced my 2 TRS eBay stores this year. My wife also sells part-time non-pet products on Etsy. Her sales are stronger part-time on Etsy than my full-time eBay sales. The problem with eBay isn't the sellers, and it's not the algorithm, and it's not the search, and it's not the traffic throttling. The problem with eBay is eBay. They have positioned themselves as a car parts store. Any sales you get on eBay are just peripheral sales or a few platform loyalists that have been using eBay for a long time. And new business you get on eBay is automotive related peripheral business. Again, look at the ads they've been running for the past 3-4 years, all automotive. Then he says that eBay is a car parts store now, and it's difficult to sell anything but car parts as at a car parts store. Keep an eye on the next eBay Open coming up later this month. I guarantee you that the top items they'll be pushing are promoted listings, eBay Motors, sneakers and fashion, Funko Pop toys, trading cards and coins, and lending point loans for sellers. eBay makes a nice commission on these easy credit ripoff loans with high interest rates. Of course, there will be obligatory raw language being connected to the eBay community, along with the talk about AI implementation to keep shareholders happy, but the main revenue streams for eBay is fees that they charge sellers. While the current execs are eBay are just slightly, I'm not going to say that. It used to be that you could sell anything on eBay. Now you can't sell anything on eBay unless it's car parts. That is a well thought out email, and I appreciate you for sending that to me. I honestly don't even know what to say. I've not personally, I don't actually pay that close of attention to my customers and their usernames, and like I don't sell any car parts really. So I guess I put this out there because I thought it was a really good information, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Have you noticed anything about this? I mean, the only thing that I can really relate to is that my sales are dramatically down, as with or many of people. And I don't really care for all these eBay auto commercials. it seems weird that that is the only thing that they're advertising. Now that he actually points that out, it does seem weird that they're not advertising any, like, eBay is so much more than auto car parts. Like, yeah, interesting stuff. This video has gone on long, but I feel there's a lot of information that really needs to get out there so people can think about it. eBay Open is coming up. I am hoping people go there and, you know, I mean, I'm not going there, but I'm hoping the people that do go there are able to, you know, digest some of this information and ask questions when they're there. We really do need some answers, and we deserve answers, to be honest with you. And we deserve to know, you know, whether we should be staying on eBay or not, or really having to make changes, because there's some weird stuff going on, guys. So I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully you guys are having a good day, and we will talk soon.